Hello and welcome to another episode of the Man in the Middle podcast. I'm your host, Jeremy Mullally. This is an Ithaca Media podcast. My special guest today is a man by the name of Shahmeer Amir, and he's an internationally acclaimed ethical hacker, an entrepreneur, and a public speaker. And he's ranked as one of the world's top bug bounty hunters. And Shahmeer has helped secure the systems of major global companies, the likes of Facebook, Microsoft, and Twitter. Among other things, he's the founder and CEO of SpeeQR and a leader of multiple groundbreaking cybersecurity startups in Asia and beyond. Shahmeer is also an advisor to Pakistan's Ministry of Finance on cyber strategy, and with a wealth of knowledge on everything from ethical hacking to next-gen tech solutions. So we're going to be covering a lot of those types of areas with him today in the world of cybersecurity. But with that all being said, Shahmeer, welcome to the show and thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me, Jeremy. Pleasure to be here.
Yeah, likewise. And I want to start just from the point of view of being recognized as one of the top bug bounty hunters. Where did that journey begin for you, Shahmeer? Where did you sort of get that passion to begin your journey as a bug hunter?
Oh, well, started off in, I think, 10 years ago, somewhere around the end of 2013, when I was in my university, and I attended a seminar about cybersecurity, and that sort of got me interested in, what it is and, how those things happen. By the way, I was an electronics engineer. I did my undergrad in electronics engineering. Then I went to grad school for my master's in cybersecurity, but that was essentially afterwards, when I had the basic and initial knowledge of everything cybersecurity. So that started off like that, and I discovered something called bug bounty hunting back then, which was, back then companies used to give out T-shirts and mugs and handwritten notes as rewards. There were no paid rewards at that time. So I went and I went through the whole process, man. I've seen the industry grow from giving out T-shirts to giving out hundreds of thousands in reward payments, and the journey started off with that seminar. Then I discovered bug hunting, and then I went through there was a platform called HackerOne. I was there. I was number one at the time, and then the ranking took place, and yeah, that's sort of it. I mean, there's no cinematic journey to it. It's just the process of continuous pondering, hitting your head against the wall, a lot of late nights, and just keep on going and going and going. It culminates to a lot of failures, a lot of some successes along those lines, and then I started one of my companies back in 2000, and I think it was 2017. That was my first company. It was basically a cybersecurity company that provided tailored security solutions to all kinds of businesses.
Yeah, okay. Just sticking a little bit on the bug hunting side of things, because there's that term ethical hacking and bug hunting, and for those who aren't familiar with that, are we talking about the same thing when we say bug hunting and ethical hacking? Are they exactly the same, or are they just similar? Like, could you sort of explain the difference between those two terms? Yeah?
Sure. Well, ethical hacking it's basically the same thing. I mean, in bug hunting, you actually get paid or rewarded for what you do, while ethical hacking is just ethical hacking, like you hack with a positive intention, a positive mindset, And bug hunting is something where you find bugs, report to companies, and expect a reward. Right nowadays, companies have refined bug hunting programs that actually allow them to that actually allow them to that actually allow attackers, or ethical hackers in this sense, to get paid for their work and for their research and for what they do. So that's basically the entire difference to it.
Yeah, okay. And you were mentioning before how in the early days, especially when you got into this field, Shahmeer, that um, there wasn't like a lot of monetary rewards. It was mostly like here's a T-shirt or here's a pen kind of thing. And the sort of cash rewards came later. Do you think that that's in place now, and people are incentivized from a financial point of view because of just how high the stakes are for companies as far as a breach or an attack coming through, that they're willing to pay people to find these problems as a third party for them. Like, in other words, there's a high risk or high loss if they do get attacked by someone who's not ethical and is a like a cyber criminal.
Yeah, I think companies have evolved over the years to sort of identify the real need of what is required from bug hunters, and they have realized that they definitely need an external set of eyes on their issues and on their infrastructure, apart from their internal security teams, apart from the audits that they do with all the big companies. That is why they have this sort of model helps the companies and helps the bug bounty hunters to ethically and responsibly handle the threats and problems that conventional security audits cannot resolve. It is, at the end of the day, a cash flow positive experience, because you are paying for the security audit as a company. You're paying for the security audit. Uh, uh, um, you're not sure of the output, right? If you're a security company, you come to me and I'm a bank. You are going to, I'm going to pay you for the security audit regardless of the report. While on the other hand, for a bug bounty program, companies only and only pay the cybersecurity expert if they get a valid bug or a valid report. So essentially, if you are a big company and you have $1 million allocated to your security budget, you can just put that into a bug bounty program, and you are bound to get more and more positive and better results from a bug bounty program than you are supposed to get from a security audit. Because here, on the bug bounty side of things, you are actually paying for what you get. You know exactly what you get. There's a taxonomy in place where for a lot of bug bounty programs, there's a taxonomy in place where cybersecurity experts actually know how much they will get paid for based on the severity of the bug. While security audit, you don't get that. There's no way to measure that, or there's no proper taxonomy or an economic tabular for place which actually tells you know how much you're paying for what. You're just paying a one-time fee. So this is sort of how security auditing has evolved, and this is while I still believe that aspects of cybersecurity auditing play similar or same role. I only takes a leap forward, because you have, on one hand, in the cybersecurity auditing perspective, a group of people in the same company with essentially the same mindset on a project, while on the other hand you have thousands of cybersecurity experts poking and identifying effective methods of attack and finding out flaws in your systems that you would not normally get from a normal security audit.
So, Shahmeer, when it comes to employing an approach of the bug bounty hunting model, do you find that the reason that it's effective is because it's more akin to more akin to reality in the sense of you have a wide variety of potential attackers coming from all different parts of the world with different experiences and also different approaches and different methods of trying to breach a system. Do you find that that's why it's such an effective model?
Albeit, I don't consider myself an expert in bug bounty hunting nowadays since I started all of these companies. But as a prior advocate, I would definitely say yes, because of the diversity in skill set and the diversity in regional-based knowledge of of all of the security experts combined from all over the world. I think that that's because bug bounty hunting in some ways is better. Trust me, there are downsides to bug hunting as well, Jeremy. It's not just it's there is a 50% downside to that as well as there is an upside because while I am an advocate, I have faced the horrors that companies have actually faced when they've started on a bug bounty program because then you have this swarm of attacks coming in, and some of these attacks are targeted towards the items that are out of scope of your application entirely, right? So then you have to manage that. And and then there are people violating your program policies as well, just to make a quick buck. So with bug bounty hunting, while there is a lot of combined skill set and there is a lot of different different sort of aspects that are positive. There are negative things. There's a lot of noise, being generated. There are a lot of issues that basically come in with bug hunting, and those issues, sadly, no bug bounty hunting platform has been able to resolve yet, other than banning the attacker's account. So you'll read a lot of horror stories about bug bounty programs all over the internet if you go ahead and Google them. While at the same time, I think that it is a better approach if managed and performed correctly. This exercise can yield better results and turn into a cash flow positive exercise because at the end of the day, cybersecurity is considered as a luxury by companies. It still is. Still, in the age of AI, cybersecurity is considered a luxury. So what you have to do is you have to convince the company, the CISO has to convince the board, okay, we need $1 million. We're going to pour into this bug bounty program. It's going to give us better results in the audit. And then they're going to have to go to the board and convince them the fact that, okay, why are we doing the audit if we're doing this? Then they have to comparatively tell them both of these are sort of equally important. And it is essential for us to strengthen our security internally, externally from the perspective of the audit, and externally from the perspective of a bug bounty program. So it's sort of a dance that CISOs do, while the board does not see it as a cash flow positive exercise.
Yeah, okay. No, it's. I'm glad that you also included what the potential downside of it as well, and like mentioning some of those horror stories. So I'd definitely love to look into that at some stage. But I know how you said that even though nowadays you don't consider yourself an expert in bug bounty hunting, I know that you previously wrote a book titled "Bug Bounty Hunting Essentials." Could you share 2 books? Okay, I stand corrected. 2 books. That being said, Shahmeer, what would you say are like the skills or the traits you think are essential for those who would be looking to break into bug bounty hunting today?
Okay, well, I am an example of what you can achieve as a bug bounty hunter with least amount of technical knowledge and experience in coding. Because I come from an engineering background and not like engineering as in programming. I come in from the hardware electronics engineering background. And what I relied on was logics to find out issues and flaws. What I relied on was pure intellectual acumen. What I relied on was, you know, purely from a mind of an attacker that just comes in looking and poking around your web app or your mobile app, looking to get a way in or looking to steal data or looking to exfiltrate information or looking to break your security measures. So if someone as with a basic knowledge as me can do whatever considered that if you consider that a positive or a successful career has done that, someone coming in from a way more refined technical acumen would achieve a lot more. So there are multiple there are multiple pathways that you can take. So if you want to go into web app security, which is the most common one. I think that if you, I don't know if that was your question or not, but I think that if you want to, the best and the fastest way to learn specifically this field and this skill set is to, uh, don't go out. And I'm telling you a shortcut, by the way. Don't go out practicing labs. Don't go out to hunting for bugs just based on what you read on in the how-to papers or online labs. Read other researcher reports. I think I have read I think close to there was a point of time where I used to read at least 28 or 27 reports per day, and then I would just go ahead and try those attacks out. And I was at a point where I could come up with I mean, I invented, and this is not to brag or anything, I think I invented um, close to 50 different new attack vectors in the areas of authentication, in the areas of business logic vulnerabilities, in the areas of bypasses when it comes to CSRF and all that. So I took a different route because my weakness was I didn't know the web application programming and coding back then.
Shimmy, you're talking around the how you were looking into transportation security. Could you explain a bit about the um, why that area is so important and what you found in the area of transportation security?
Yeah. So this is something that I recently started to look into. I think 2 years ago or something, and then I publicly came out with all of my research about a year ago, and so started to speak on all of these conferences. Um, the thing is that you will be very, very surprised to hear that 50% of all of the transportation of goods all across the world, or more than 50%, arguably, is using maritime vessels. Planes and roads and trains, they comprise of just 40%, and the 10% is classified. So this is such a huge area and this is such a vulnerable area that we're not just considering. When was the last time someone asked, okay, why will my boat be hacked? What is the reason that this maritime vessel carrying, hundreds of thousands or even millions of barrels of oil, if it's going from one place to another, why would it be hacked? Like, what is the reason? Well, because you put all of those systems in it that you use to communicate with the stations, and that you use for internet access, or that you use to navigate, that you use to avoid icebergs. I'm talking about the GNSS. So there are a lot of systems in a boat or a ship that basically make it vulnerable. And that's what I talk about in my presentation, is that no one actually talks about these things like ever. And it is such a thriving area that imagine I had to move away from bug bounty hunting to look into that. Consider what incentive would I have gotten, because I see this as such a thriving field. Similar to planes, we have so many systems in planes. And Jeremy, I'm a person that likes simple things. Okay, so whatever system I'm observing, I just break it down into subsystems, and I look at vulnerabilities and look at those moving parts and pieces of those systems before, and that's all what I do. And even just by a simple radio, you can trick the landing. You can essentially or effectively, with some expertise, you know, spoof the location of a particular vessel or an aircraft if you live nearby an airport or a port or something. So it is essentially one of the most thriving fields, and people who are listening to it are going to have to attend one of my sessions or talks to, if they want to hear more about it. But what I can tell you right now is that this is such an underrated and non-looked at field that we have to. Somebody just had to come out and say, okay, guys, it's not working out. We have to talk about this. I mean, and we know that the attackers are always ahead of us. So imagine if we start finding out what kind of attacks are happening on boats and on trains and that sort of stuff. And I fear that that is going to add up to billions of dollars worth of loss of unheard of expenses and money. So it is a very interesting area that I have explored, and I am going around and talking about it more and more, and letting people know that this is important.
And why do you think it's so overlooked, Shamir? Like, what's the reason that I guess people overlook how critical, how important it is?
Because no one thinks about it. Like, just like I said in the beginning, why, if you ask someone, okay, you need to have specific systems in place around your VSAT or around your GNSS, their question is, why would my boat be hacked? Like, what is the reason? What is the incentive of an attacker? I mean, Jeremy, here's the thing. If the I don't know, and I don't know the exact number, but if 150 containers are being transported from one place to another, and one container out of all of them is unaccounted for, like if someone could just, you know, hack into the ship's records and delete that one container, then you have one container gone missing, and it's tens of thousands of kilograms worth of just that one container. If and that is unaccounted for, and once it's unaccounted for, it is not in the records, which means it's missing, which means that anyone can claim it, if they have the right resources or attacks, right resources or connections. So people don't look at it that way. Like, let me give you something that's going to scare the hell out of you. Russia and the US were on the brink of a World War III, just because an American aircraft carrier location was spoofed in the Russian waters. So the aircraft carrier was parked in Knoxville, and someone was spoofing its location near the Russian in the Russian waters, and it's just, that was basically the start of a war that we just avoided. Someone went near the port and photographed that aircraft carrier and posted it online. Okay, that this is a spoofing thing happening here. This is not real. Why did it happen? Because The vessel ID of that particular aircraft carrier was public. The length of that particular aircraft carrier was public. You know, the tail number was public. Sorry, not the tail number. Everything, every information related to that aircraft carrier was public. Just like we have for planes, right? We have the aircraft number, we have the airline number, we have the heading, we have the everything, right? So that information for that vessel was public, and someone was spoofing it near the Russian waters. And it was just we were just, I think, hours away from a World War III. So imagine the sensitivity and the impact that went about it all across the world.
Yeah, no, and you certainly have scared me. That's like you said, it's quite amazing, just like how like you said, how easily it can be overlooked, and there's all these different areas that can pose like catastrophic events to occur from overlooking that. Keeping in line with that, Shahmeer, like as far as this area of transportation security, when you began exploring this particular area of security, is there anything that, beyond what you've already mentioned, is there anything that surprised you about it, in the sense of uh, the way that attacks could occur, or certain vulnerabilities that would have been overlooked by others?
Yeah, there are a lot of them. I mean, the I there's something. I mean, if you wanted to talk about specific in examples, there's something called the aircraft collision avoidance system. So yeah, I think collision avoid. It's called TCAS basically, for short. So
Right.
what the TCAS does is so you have two planes who are basically transmitting their heading and their speed and their aircraft ID to a global network. We call it the ADSB. The ADSB, what it does is it basically, when airplanes are going from one place to another, they're basically beacons everywhere else that are basically tracking those airplanes. And what happens is that the TCAS uses that information to avoid colliding with other aircrafts. Now, TCAS solely relies on the information from ADSB. Now, if and ADSB is basically a network of all of these beacons that harvest that information and transmit it like publicly. And what the TCAS does is basically descend or ascend based on based on the information. Okay, an aircraft is coming my way. I need to descend, like a few hundred feet, or ascend a few hundred feet to avoid being collided. So the problem with TCAS is that since it relies on ADSB, which is public information, you could actually spoof the location of a real live airplane to confuse that system. So, in case of uh, in case of an airplane, like you can't just turn around, right? You're going, you're going hundreds of miles an hour in terms of speed. You can't just like turn right or turn left. You have to ascend or descend. It doesn't work like normal cars do. And what I found out was if you basically had a beacon from FlightAware or Flight Radar 24, and there were aircraft passing above your roof, you could spoof the location of another aircraft. And trust me, I didn't try it or anything. I didn't collide a plane or anything like that. So you could spoof a location of another aircraft or multiple aircraft in front of an aircraft to confuse the TCAS system completely, and to make it to completely burn it, like make it unresponsive, so much so that the manual control would have been required to be handed over to pilot. So if Consider this very, very simple example. If you have an aircraft that is going straight, if there's a real aircraft coming in front of you, you have two options, either to ascend or descend. Now, in case of this spoofing attack, what happens is you have a wall of aircraft coming towards you, like 10, 20 aircraft, because they are being spoofed in terms of a wall. Now, in a normal case scenario, what conventional TCASs do is they do a nosedive, because that is the only way to avoid collision. But that is also a way for the aircraft to basically crash, right? And this is such, and there are like some measures in place, like handing over manual control to the pilot. But I mean, worst come worst, what if the pilot is taking a break or in the toilet or something like that? And saving a plane from it, like this sort of what I'm talking about is, this is imminent loss of life that is going to happen, because someone is spoofing, someone is attacking those wireless systems that are on board an airplane, right? And there are a lot of there can be a lot of hijacking attempts based on this. There can be a lot of different kinds of terrorist groups may have utilized this. So that was one thing that was also very, very scary that came into my research. Along with a lot of other things, like when it comes to trains, there we have a lot of wireless systems that are in place that basically manage a train system, manage a train speed, and all that sort of stuff. So when it comes to trains, it is similar. Like the entire European rail network relies on distinct and very accurate timing to function. For those of you who live in Europe, what happens is that when these systems are tampered with within trains, even if the train is switching tracks based on just a wireless command going into its command and control system, um, that can result in a collision, or the speed of a particular train is reduced or enhanced. That can also result in a collision because they're so accurately timed together. So there are a lot of things that we can talk about. There are a lot of examples that we can go into, but the underlying factor is that these systems are not secure. They are not. They are not. They're just not there yet, Jeremy. I mean, we need to wake up and realize right now that the modes of communication and transportation that we rely on every single day are vulnerable to attacks. They need to be secured. They need to be protected to prevent the loss of money and to prevent the loss of life.
Yeah, and based on the research and investigations that you've done, Shahmeer, what's floating around in my mind is it sounds like so much work does need to be done in order to even be heading in the right direction as far as from a security standpoint. So, this obviously isn't an easy question to answer, but what does need to be done? Because it sounds like it requires the collaboration of so many different sectors, globally speaking, in order for in order for there to be a change from the status quo.
Well, if you ask me, from the way that I look at it, the fundamental systems that are being used today are not perfect in any sense. Like, for example, the aircraft exchange system, the ADSB that I was talking about. Uh, it's public. It's public information. All of the information about an aircraft that you are going to board today is public. It is public because of just one requirement, so that my family can track me, but that is not worth more than my life, right? So there needs to be there needs to be thought process redesign in all of these systems so that they work on a need to know basis. They don't need to work like, trust me, if even if there is a specific wall of information inference and distribution in the architecture of all of these systems, I think that these systems would be much more secure. Right now, people are just saying, why would someone look at it? Why would someone hack my boat? Why would someone hack my plane? Why would someone hack my train? That is the problem. The question is not why, the question is when. And we see that a lot. Like, the thing that happened with COBOL, CrowdStrike. That the Microsoft update. We were sent back into the Stone Age. So we rely heavily on a lot of systems that are not at all highly available, that are somewhat fragile in nature, and that's what I advocate for wherever I go. That this is I tell people to regulate all of these systems. I tell people to uh, constantly look at them. I'm doing my bit, so I think that should come out of the bubble that these systems are for uh, there to help, rather than we should talk about how we can protect people when it comes to hacking into these systems, and they're not secure.
And it sounds quite grim and quite dire, Shahmeer, but do you think it will take something like of a global scale akin to something like what happened with CrowdStrike for it to come into the public conscious as far as these systems not being secure?
Yeah, I think it's going to take a. The thing is, I hope that it doesn't. I hope there's no die-hard scenario,
Yeah,
where
yeah.
the thing that happened into it in the Die Hard movie. I hope there's nothing like that. But I mean, we're a species that learns from our mistakes, and that mistake hasn't happened yet. So I think it's bound
Mm.
to happen before it happens.
Yeah. Well, we are getting to the end of this conversation, and I want to end on a bit of a lighter note than that,
Sure.
Shahmeer. But what I'd love to sort of end on is telling us a bit about if people want to sort of learn a bit more about your the research and the investigations that some of which have been talking about today. How can people sort of find out more about your work and even get in touch with you if they wish to?
Well, over the past 4 years, I've not been doing bug bounty hunting much. I've written 2 books. You can get them online. I am running a speaker, which is soon going to replace everything that you use today, like Zoom or Google Meet or whatever. It's a conferencing solution. I mean, it's a bit ironic. My premier company, the one that I founded like a baby, is not a cybersecurity company. So
Right.
that's that. But I've been doing a lot of public speaking. I've written, dozens of research papers that you can find online. My book's available on Amazon. It's called Bug Bounty Hunting Essential. Then there's another book that is specifically for the Asian people. It's called Bug Bounty Hunting for Dummies. I was writing a book on hacking planes and trains and all that sort of stuff, but I just haven't had. It's not an excuse, but I haven't had the time to do so. But I do a lot of talks and public speaking. I was supposed to come to CyberCon, but obviously due to traveling advisories and requirements, I can't. So I'm going to be at Black Hat Middle East and Africa, probably, where I'm going to talk about sonic and audio malware. That's basically something. So wherever you see me talking, it's either going to be a wow factor, which either makes people think, okay, this is scary, or makes them think this guy's just bullshitting. There's no way this can be true. So I'm gonna be at the Black Hat Middle East and Africa and a couple of other conferences before the end of the year, and probably next year in CyberCon, well, I'll see you guys all there as well.
Excellent. Well, yeah, I want to thank you, Shahmeer, for coming on the show. It's been a great conversation, and I hope we can get you on in future. Like, I think we only scraped the surface as far as, especially around the transportation security. There's a lot of fascinating areas I think we can explore. And for our listeners and viewers, yeah, if you are in those respective countries and cities, I'd recommend going to visit and listen to Shahmeer at one of his talks. But on that note, Shahmeer, I want to yeah, thank you for coming on the show, and look forward to seeing you next time.
Thank you, Jeremy. Thank you. It's been great having you. It's been great talking to you, and hoping to see you soon.